Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Wide, and I need to trim off probably about a 1/4 inch off of each door to make them work, but I'm concerned about cutting into a fire rated door and keeping the UL listing and covering the ends back up. Do you guys have anything for that or dealt with that before?
Yeah, of course. So the call to make is to the distributor who supplied them and ask that they pull the procedures for the testing laboratory. So when you look at the label, it will say UL or Warnock-Hersey or, back in the old days, Factory Mutual. Okay. So those procedures will tell the manufacturer of the door and therefore the distributor what can and cannot be done. The summary, you've got wooden fire doors that are too wide. The short version of this is it's not permissible to do what you want to do for 2 reasons. Likely when you plane off even 1/8 of an inch off of each side, the act then of remortising the depth of the latch face and the hinges will then technically render those doors field modified, disqualifying them from being classified as proper fire doors. So
yeah, because they're continuous hinge doors, so I completely agree with what you're saying. They're continuous hinge doors, so when we trim that end off, they're face-mounted hinges anyway. They don't actually attach to the end, but we will expose into the gypsum core instead of we won't have any wood left on the end of them, trimming off as much as we need. So I was hoping that there was a metal product that would that would keep the UL rating intact for that rated door, but it sounds like unless you get, am I hearing that unless you basically get UL to recertify that there's nothing we can do? They're from Masonite, the wood doors, if you're familiar with Masonite, and I've been talking with our wood door supplier on what to do, and he's kind of researching some things, but I'm trying to find out some stuff on my own, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. And so the wood that's on there is really not consequential. The wood that's on the edge of those doors is really just cosmetic. It's the tectonite is what it's called, the extremely dense yet very brittle material. That has to be there. The wood can go away. Who cares? People only put it on there because you want to stain or paint it. So, I mean, technically, it's gonna be a problem to field modify those doors in that regard. I just got off of a job where the guy ordered a dozen Birch 3670s, 90-minute, and he gave me the center line of his strike plate. He measured the center line of the cutout for the latch and told me it was the center line of the strike. So we were off almost an inch. He in the field, I know that he did it. He told me he did. He reworked all of those doors. Those doors are absolutely no longer fire rated because of that rework. So, proceed as you might, but I'm giving you the proper answer because I'm a certified fire door and egress assembly inspector. I have that credential after my name from 2 different national organizations. Having said that, this kind of stuff is done with complete success all the time. But there is, if you'd have to have a product, like a metal edge set that would be tested and appropriate to go over that door if you take a 1/4 inch off, most likely that sort of hardware. But I would first find out what you're permitted to do based on the procedures of that manufacturer. They may permit it.
Right. And, I think he's kind of went down that route and basically said, there are some UL-approved shops to trim off the ends of doors and keep the rating, but unfortunately my door supplier is not. So that's what I was looking at one of your products that's actually, I think, a gap solution for if your door's, I assume too short, that I thought might be able to work on the end of the door to cover that up. But it sounds like it still need either approval from the manufacturer / UL to verify it still keeps its 90-minute UL listed.
In the way that you're using it, because a gap solution is, oh my gosh, I've got 1 1/8 inch undercut. And they're only allowing me 3/4 or 1 inch. So you slap that on to bring it down. If you took your doors down in the width, 3/8, and now you're shy, a gap solution may work in that regard, but the problem is changing the net width of that door and then applying the router to it. Not that anything you would do would compromise the integrity of the door. The answer is it's just not been tested. So that's the technical answer.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I was really just looking for is there a metal plate that will cover up that end since it will be exposed once you open that door. You'll see the end of that door from the inside. So that's what I was trying to see, if there was such thing as a metal plate that's UL listed that is tested. If you cut the end of a door off, you can slap this thing on there and you still got your rating. But it sounds like that product may not exist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the gap solutions that are here are. Let's look.
Yeah, and I know they're like you said, they're necessarily they're more for like you got a door and it's too short and you need to extend that door up taller, or But I was hoping that this might serve a dual purpose. I don't need any more width, or height.
So there is a product. National Guard, for instance, makes a continuous hinge that has a very wide face on the U channel that would go over the end of the door. If that door were to be magically smaller, and then you use this approved product for that purpose, it's tested and rated for that type of application. Again, it's getting it to that point. This is when the door's been manufactured too small.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
How many doors are there?
There are, let's see, 12.
Yeah, okay. That's a drag.
Yeah, there's 12 of them. They basically didn't take into account the continuous hinge. You can fit these doors in. It's like they just said the openings were 72 plus a hinge width, and that's not the case. So we've got you can fit the doors in without hinges, but
can you switch to full surface?
We thought about well, we've looked at that as well, and they're actually even a little like they're touching inside the frames as it is now. So there's not even enough gap to finish the rest of the hardware.
Right.
So either way, we got to trim down a little bit. So that's what I was hoping there might be that product out there that would let us just trim them off, in the field and slap something on the end of it.
Yeah, there are gap solutions. There's pieces of steel that you can apply, but it does just go back to
what the
step
main
one
issue is.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that kind of answers part of my question. So if there is a UL certified shop that can cut it, we can have them cut it, and then there is a product that will go over top of it and keep that rating, but we can't just cut it.
Technically, that's absolutely correct. Now, back in the old days when we were a Warnock-Hersey listed shop, if you brought those 12 doors to me, here's how I would do it. And it would be completely 100% certifiable in terms of it being the integrity maintained. I would have cut those doors down. I would have removed the original, in the width, I would have put them on my sliding table saw. I would have cored out all of the original style. We stocked complete brand new banded styles from, back then it was Weyerhaeuser, okay? And we would pop that style back into the U channel that we've routed completely out. We'd glue it, we'd clamp it, we'd come back the next day and we'd plane it nice. We'd, just plane it, put a 3 degree or whatever has to be on there. That is the absolute correct, completely legitimate way of doing this, where you put in a full style, a banded style, meaning there's wood over, so when we stock banded styles, we'd have to stock oak and we'd have to stock maple is what it was. And that would give us paint grade or oak. If we needed if we needed walnuts or if we needed, some unusual species of veneer, we'd have to order those styles, or we would edge tape them if the client was okay with that.
Right.
But that's how it's properly done, where you're putting back a full, style back in where it's completely the proper size.
Right.
It also could be that looking at the procedures specifies a minimum amount of tectonite in the door. And if you can establish that, obviously, by looking at the top or bottom of the door, putting your planer on, basically 5/30 seconds on each style may not be the end of the world. What sort of locking hardware do you have?
I'd have to go back and look, and I hadn't reviewed. I gave it to my I'm a project manager sitting in the office, and I gave it to my superintendent. He's giving me the information back of what he needs, and he's like, "Well, our hardware installer works for us," and him, he's like, "We don't have enough room for." I mean, it's panic devices, but I don't know the ins and outs of specific panic devices.
Well, so the good news is, you're not. It sounds like they're probably surface vertical rod, right? Or
I believe
so.
Yes.
I hope they're surface vertical rod.
I believe they are.
Yeah. So it's not like you have to remortise. You just have to trim in the field. Now, if they're positive pressure, that's never going to work because you've got intumescence underneath that material. You can absolutely not trim any of that stuff if it's positive pressure.
And no, I don't believe they are. No, these are going on. These are exits out of a gymnasium at a high school.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be wood doors to begin with.
Yeah. Well, then they're interior. It's an odd design. The gym does not open to the exterior of the building.
Well, you and I were both high school students once, right? We were awful, weren't we?
Oh yeah.
It's strange.
Yeah, exactly
I spend my career repairing other people's broken panic devices. My foot would come down on the panic at the end of the school year like the hammer of Thor.
You'd be amazed at the stuff after we're done with this renovation that we broke, quotation marks.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I mean, I wish I could just go in and cut a 1/4 inch off of the hinge side of all my doors, and then I know I could stick them on and they'd fit. But I know I can't just do that.
Well, I mean, you have to find out from the procedures if it's permissible,
mm-hmm.
and a 1/4 inch is a lot to take off of a fire door. It's far too much. In fact, what I'm trying to say is the good thing is you need to divide. If you really need only a 1/4 inch, and I would expect that you'd need more, then you can do that evenly on all 4 styles, so that you are not obliterating anything. Now, fire doors are permissible to field trim. It's just you have to find out. There's going to be a giant binder that Masonite has, and they need to open the binder and look at those sheets.
Yeah, and the where those doors meet in the middle, they're actually tapered. One side of that, one side is longer than the other.
You mean bevel? There's a bevel on the doors.
Yes.
So yeah, that's normal.
They're beveled on the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's normal. Your Porter cable hand planer, you can throw a 3-degree bevel on that. Or your table saw, your sliding table saw, you tip your blade over.
But yeah, we basically each door would need to lose a 1/4 inch to give us enough room for the hinges and give us enough room to get the panic hardware on.
Yeah, I would be surprised if you couldn't take an 1/8 of an inch off of each of those 4 styles and be done with it. That would be what I'd be looking to do.
That might be that's a good idea because that would and they are pre-finished, so we'd have to restain them. But that's not the end of the world. I've got a good painter.
Yeah. You just get a quart or whatever from probably a quart, well, maybe a gallon from Masonite of that original run, and you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time. This has given me some good information and good ideas. And if we do end up hearing back from them that we can slap one of these products on from you guys at the end and just cut off one end of it, then I'll definitely be back in touch.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Richard.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I appreciate it, Richard.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.